Initiate podcast.
Saints Talk, Sports Time, excellent.
All right, welcome to Saints Talk. So today is our first live video show. Now today we're going to be talking about a few different things, including the podcast itself, and then a few general things about what's happening in St. Louis.
I'm pretty excited. I mean, I like to talk about sports, and I like other people to hear me talk about sports, so I'm pretty pumped.
Yeah, same here. Love talking about sports. So we're actually go ahead and start off with the segment we like to call Mike's Moments.
Mike's Moment.
All right, go ahead, Mike.
Welcome to Mike's Moment. Please welcome my guest today, Dr. York, the professor in the communication department and the advisor of the Saints Talk Sports podcast. Dr. York, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I wanted to start out by asking, what do you see as the end result of the Saints Talk Sports podcast, being the official podcast on Maryville's campus?
When thinking about how we can take student media to the next level, right, we want to use new media as much as possible. Right, so we got rid of the traditional newspaper. We're now on e-media as far as paw print goes. I was trying to think, what can we do beyond that? Right, what are we using in society nowadays as far as video, as far as podcasts? Nowadays, this new digital media is expected not only by everyone, but obviously for the college-age student. They expect this kind of stuff, right? You expect, I'm sure, videos, audio, all these other elements, not just, that same newspaper that mom and dad used, right? So that's really what I was hoping to get the new age digital usage.
Yeah, definitely. So that kind of goes like, how did you see the podcast influencing the athletic department? Do you think there'll be more attendance at events or different events being created by the students?
I hope so. I actually like what you are doing specifically with the Mike's Moment, where you're bringing in individuals from the sports realm of Maryville.
Yeah.
I hope that we almost create a bond. We can tell the story of some of our student athletes, some of our athlete staff members. We tell their stories here, so listeners will hear that and say they'll feel a little bit more of a connection, right?
Yeah,
you know, I know Susie because she was interviewed on Saints Talk. I'm gonna go watch her in the softball game. I know who that is, right? I can kind of put a personality behind the players. I think if we almost put a spotlight on them outside of the realm, we'll send maybe more emphasis during the game and say, hey, I know exactly who that is. That's what my hope is.
Yeah, definitely. So do you see other majors creating podcasts or blogs so they can share information and events going on in their fields?
I hope so. I really do hope so. I think, again, coming back to where is culture in general going? Not just Maryville student media, but all media, just nationwide, right? That specifically college-age students, and obviously college-age students will turn into the late 20s, the late 20s will turn into the late 30s. How are they getting information, right? Obviously, your communication, this is the bread and butter right here. But what if you are psychology, right? You still need information from your degree. Are you still going to be reading articles, or are you going to be listening to a podcast about psychology, a video, once a week video program on YouTube about psychology? What if a new element comes up? Right now, podcast, video, that's kind of the new thing right now, right? That's the digital contemporary. 10 years from now, it'll be completely different. Right? We won't use that, so what's the next thing? So I hope not just communication, but all elements will use this to get their message out.
Yeah, especially for the students that don't live on campus where they won't see a flyer posted.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that shows like just how far paw print and the podcast have come, because I remember our first semester that I wrote for the paw print, there was only 6 students that wrote for it. So how do you think that the growth will be? Did you ever think it would be this far?
You know what? I knew we were going to grow. I didn't know how quick. I did not realize how quick it would be. I think it shows that the Maryville students want to be involved of student life, okay? Because this is more than just communication, right? This isn't just for communication majors or communication minors. This is everyone. When I first started, when you were in class, they were all there's 6 communication students. Now you sit in a paw print, we have the bar, the video. Not everyone is a communication major. We have students in the nursing program, we have students in the science, biology program. So it's more of a student life kind of feel than specifically just communication. But I think it's just fascinating because obviously we get our thoughts as calm people, but we're not the entire voice, right?
Yeah.
What are other students doing out there? So I think that this is almost merging to the outside of the classroom, that student life element, which I find really exciting.
Yeah, I feel it really gives the students a voice where they can put their own opinions about topics going on campus, as well as people that just submit articles that aren't formally writing for the paw print.
Absolutely.
But Andy, Josh, didn't you have something to say?
Yeah, no, I really liked what you were saying about how we want to connect with the different athletes around Maryville's campus. That's really going to be a big thing. We're going to do a bunch of player spotlights and all that different kind of stuff. So really excited to start talking more about that.
I mean, I just want to know, like, is there any specific podcast or radio show you're trying to base this off of, or you take elements from each, or what can you tell us about that?
You know what? I'm a really big fan of the setup and traction that the Mike and Mike gets from the ESPN's Mike and Mike.
Yeah,
I think they do a fantastic job, right? They play off each other. The way they kind of really play off what one another is saying is fantastic. They have the humor. They obviously talk about sports, but they also talk about things outside of that, right? They're talking about athletes outside of the field of play, right? What's going on, ethics of sports, having this almost humor conversation associated with it, but also at the same time can have that serious conversation. And I almost feel like after I listen to Mike and Mike, right? It's so interesting. Like, I watched it before it became a show, right? Now you can just watch it on TV. But I listened to the radio series for so long, and I never knew what they looked like. So it's so interesting. You'll listen to someone forever and finally see what they look like. Oh, I feel like it's my buddy, right? Mike and Mike. I feel like I'm friends with them. I have all these conversations. It's kind of interesting to see them. So I like that show quite a bit.
Yeah, and that'll be really interesting because we have this video part as well as an audio part. So everyone's going to be able to listen to us talk, and then, like you said, they can see our faces through the video. So
Absolutely.
Which I'm particularly excited about. I like my face.
I think Mike likes the camera, a little too much, but
It's good.
But yeah, then I also want to go back to the paw print. How it started really small for you guys, and then whenever I started paw print, it was a very large class. So I came into it thinking it was a huge thing, and we started this broadcast, and that was really small. Now you guys are doing this whole broadcast thing. We have this podcast going, so this is getting really cool.
Yes, and like you said, when you started, it was only 4 people on the bar, right? Only 4 people they're over there filming. I think there are 12 people now, and not just in one semester.
No.
When you did paw print, it was 6 people, and then it grew into I think it was 20. Okay,
Yeah.
now that's why this time for Saints Talk is so neat. It's such a cool part to be just involved in this, right? That who knows what this will be in 1 year, right?
Yeah.
Who knows what it'll be then? So it's kind of neat to be on that ground floor.
Right, and the really interesting part is, if you don't know, is the location of our podcast, our broadcast, and paw print itself. Mike, if you want to go ahead and just kind of tell them where we're at,
Yeah, we're currently in the annex. It is the official paw print room, but we're looking to move to a bigger room, more professional, more as if it were a radio station. Do you have any input of where we'll be going in the future, or how they'll be upgrading where we're at now?
As of right now, we don't have a schedule of what's going to happen to student media. Obviously, I think we all see that the annex specifically has a somewhat of a schedule before it's structural issues. Right now, there's no plans going forward, but as I understand, there is a kind of push to make this student life. I think that's really just the neat part, where this student media is more than just a class, right? It's more than just people come up, get 3 credit hours, and go away. I think it'd be really neat to be part of the student environment. If we had some ability to have, even for Saints Talk, what if we had one of those soundproof glass windows where people could walk by and say, hey, there's a live show, we get a live on air. We just recently bought the on air sign, right? Turn that on. It's kind of neat to walk by and see someone, interviewing live at any point. I think that just helps with student life in general. It'll be kind of neat in the future.
Yeah, it'll give that feel like, hey, I'm at a real radio station and I'm not at school.
Absolutely.
I do love this place because it's kind of like secluded almost. So like it's on campus, but we kind of feel like we're our own thing.
Absolutely.
I was a little creeped out at first about the annex, to be honest, coming over here to work on a couple of videos alone and stuff. But now it's like really a lot of people are coming here.
Yeah.
Josh, did you have an impression on the annex at first? And
I'm not gonna lie, as a freshman, I had no idea what this is, what it was, or where it was. So, I mean, that was kind of a shock. I was like, oh, we have an old house on campus that's now being used for media. I didn't know that. And, now I'm a freshman. Like, hey, where's your class at? Oh, I'm in the annex. Like, what is the annex?
yeah, and then like with this room itself, I just kind of stumbled upon one day whenever I was coming in here with public safety. It's just like, what's in the back of the annex? And we opened it up, and there's this whole studio in here with these microphones and this soundboard and everything. So that was just really cool, and we just kind of decided, take the podcast to another level.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have our own closet still.
Yeah, I have to start making some new decorations around the area, maybe.
There's
Keep a
some
few things
small
in there.
ceramic teddy bears. Could become our mascot. I'm not sure. We'll have to decide on that.
On that, I think it says toward the communication program and just Maryville in general that if you're interested in doing something, let's do it. Right?
Yeah.
And some of the big universities, so like my undergrad program was a big state school. If you had an idea, say, I want to start a podcast, you'd have to go through so many levels, and maybe 2 years later, we would create something. But that's kind of says something toward Maryville, where we can create this. If you're interested in something, tell someone, and we'll get off with your app.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now I just kind of want to open up for general conversation on different things. I know we were talking about fantasy football earlier.
Yes.
So if you guys have anything on football, maybe Rams.
I'm 3-0 on my fantasy league. I'm the only undefeated team in my fantasy league, so I'm riding high right now. 3-0.
On the opposite at 0-3. So you might not want my advice, but I could come around.
I'm also 0-3, but I'm also the reigning league champion. So I think my team can make a resounding comeback and rally around Aaron Rodgers and play good football.
Man, I just missed the deadline this year, but my team, the Straight Cash Homies, as Randy Moss would say, almost won our league last year. We came in third. So
Yes. It's fun. It's my first year of actually taking it serious and trying playing. So
Yeah, I heard you had a trade or something you were trying to wheel
so
in there.
I tried for about 2 days. It took me 2 days of texting. Tried a 3-way trade. Right? If you've played fantasy football, it's very hard to do.
Ooh,
right?
three-way.
A
We're
three-way trade.
getting complicated now.
Yes,
Three-way
it wasn't
trades.
just one-on-one. So I spent 2 days on this very strategic plan, right? A lot of strategic thinking behind this, and my commissioner vetoed it. After it all went through, after all the 2 days of all this planning, my commissioner vetoed it
wow.
because it was unfair. I was like, hey, I can't take credit for whooping you all through my great team. But
Yeah, the champion and PR wordsmith over here trying to get a little advantage in his lead. It
Yes.
seems like
you got to use what you have in class for outside of class, right? Where you can't.
that's what we're learning as well. To get people to make the trades that we want them to make in fantasy football.
That's what we're taught with communications.
That's the first way.
How to get the best fantasy football trades for our teams.
Yes.
Or how to get a career.
or a job. Yes.
That's the more helpful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's good. What do you guys think? Who the Rams play this week?
They are
Bye
on
week.
a bye week.
Bye week.
Thankfully, my eyes were bleeding last week.
Hey, it wasn't too bad. We almost beat the Cowboys.
We were up 21-0, and then we
That is
fell
true.
apart like somebody took out the bottom of a Jenga set.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead, Mike.
Austin Davis playing. I mean, he's a rookie, so he'll learn as he goes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting with the new quarterback, coming in off the waiver wire and everything after Sam Bradford. Sean Hill, he gets hurt.
Yes.
Then this guy has to step up, so it's kind of like we had a master defensive plan, and then now we don't have an offense. So
Yes.
it's just kind of rebuilding once again, which is unfortunate, but we'll see how it goes.
And now all of a sudden we have an offense. Davis has been phenomenal, better than anyone can expect. Last game, I think he showed more than Bradford showed in his three years here.
And
and
soon
I-
they'll leave us.
Yes. I
And
put
now
in my
they-
resume. They haven't called me back yet. I tried to be their quarterback. They never called. So, but
Yeah, I thought maybe wide receiver, but yeah, same thing.
yeah.
All right, well, I think that's about it for the first video.
All right.
Glad to have you in here, Dr. York.
Hey, thank you for having me, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thanks again.
That's good.
All right, well, make sure to tune in. Next week we should have our audio piece out, and then in a couple weeks we'll have another video that you can watch. Thanks for joining us on Saints Talk.
And go Saints.